Okay, so on this question, we're trying to figure out the square root of -6 times -24. And so we know that negatives in a root kick out an I, So then we get I square root of 6 times I square root of 24. No more negatives inside. We kicked out the negatives and they became i's. Now, what happens from there? Well, root 6i times I root 6 times I root 24. Well, the I times the I is I squared, just like x times x is x squared, I times I is I squared. And then 6 times 24, just use your calculator there. 6 times 24, you'll find is 144. So you just multiply the outside with the outside, the inside with the inside, right? That's what we always do with roots, right? I call them like prison, outsiders with outsiders, insiders with insiders. Just multiplied 6 and 24, be 144, and the I times the I, made I squared. Okay, now what? Well, the square root of 144 is just 12. You can find that on your calculator. But what is the I squared? Well, to figure out what I squared is, let me mention something over here. What's the square root of -1? Well, remember what negatives always do? They kick out an I, so it's I square root of 1, right? And what's the square root of 1? It's just 1. And what's 1 times I? It's just I. So my point in all that is I, or the square, so the square root of -1 is just I. Okay, so why does that matter so much? Because then I'm trying to figure out what this I squared is over here, right? To figure that out, you can just come, now that we know what I is, you can just second power both sides and you'll get I squared as well. What happens over here? The 2 and the root cancel, right? 2 powers and root powers are the opposites, they always cancel. So I squared is -1. So that means, so that's a big and profound discovery. There should be like dramatic music playing in the background. Dun, dun, dun. But it's not quite that. That's not good music and it's not really that dramatic. But anyway, I squared is -1. So this is a big and important step. That means anytime we see I squared, we never ever leave it. We replace it with -1 because the root is removed. All right, and then what's -1 times 12? -12, and that's the answer to this question. It's just -12. Notice no more I. We got rid of the imaginary stuff. No more I. So that's really important. Whenever you see I squared, you never leave it. You replace it with a plain -1 because that's what it is. The root is removed by the 2 power and it's a plain old -1. And so you always have to remember that. We never leave an I. We leave regular I's. If you have a regular I, you leave that. But if you have 2 of those and that makes I squared, we never leave I squared. That just becomes -1 because the 2 power removes the root. And then -1 times 12 is just -12. There we go.